Hello friends, today we are going to talk about a very important topic, which is how to create an effective study plan for your Canadian study permit application. The things which we will cover would be why LOE or study plan or SOP is important, what does IRCC instructions say about it, what are the questions to address in your study plan, so what would be a possible template or structure, what should be the length of a study plan and key takeaways. So stay tuned with me and I will be back. So welcome back. My name is Dil Sandhu and I'm a CICC licensed immigration consultant. So now let's get right into our topic of the day, which is study plan. So the first thing is, why is study plan important? So one of the reasons is this is an excellent opportunity to put your perspective in front of a visa officer, right? And this is an opportunity to showcase that why you are a good fit for this study permit application, right? And the second point is that you can address any possible concerns. The concerns could be, for example, your study gap, right? So you may be out of, your last study was 10 years ago, or you are living in a country which is not your country of citizenship. For example, an Indian citizen living in Dubai. So how do you show ties to your home country? And there could be many other concerns which you can address in your study plan, including your previous refusals as well, right? And the third point is to avoid refusal. The most common reason for refusal is inconsistent purpose, which is regulation 216/1, right? And most of the refusal letters would have something like, the purpose of your visit is visit to Canada is not consistent with temporary stay given the details you provided in your application, which is basically a visa officer's way of telling you that I do not believe that you are a bona fide student. I do not trust you. You might be coming here to stay and become a permanent immigrant or something else, but your intentions are not actually to study, right? So your intentions are slightly different from for a temporary residence for study purposes, right? And the fourth point is, don't confuse the optional with unimportant. What I mean by that is, for example, this document is not a mandatory document. It's an optional document, but it's a very, very important document, right? If you are a citizen of, let's say, France or South Korea or Austria or United Kingdom, you don't have to worry too much about the study plan, right? But if you are a citizen of, let's say, India, Nigeria, Bangladesh, I mean, this is a very, very important document, and you should do your very best to make sure that this document comes out really well and put a very persuasive and compelling argument that why you are a good fit as a student. So to make my point further, for example, I have this data for study permit applications which were either refused or approved between 2017 and April of 2022, right? So based on the country of citizenship, field of study, DLI, and so on and so forth. So if I see this record, it is almost like, I think it was more than a million records. For example, if I go there, so this is like kind of more than 1 million records, right? And I analyze that. So let me show you analyze data. For example, you have, all the countries on the y-axis and then the years on the x-axis. You have like 2017, 18, 19, and then you have 2022 till April of 2022, right? So if you see like countries like Austria, Denmark and all, it's almost like close to 100%, right? Or maybe more than 90%. But then if you are a country and if you're a student from, let's say, India, for example, you have to be really, really worried about it, right? Because what happens is that there are a lot of applications. In 2017, it was 67% approval of study permit applications without extension. And then in 2022, in the first 4 months, it was 55%. So pretty much 1 out of every 2 students are getting rejected. And if you are from India, so you need to be very careful that you have a very comprehensive study plan and study permit application. So the next thing is that what does it say on IRCC website? So if you go to the study permit webpage on Government of Canada website, it does mention that the visa officer expects that you talk about why you want to study in Canada and you understand your responsibilities as a student, right? Let's go further and talk about the important questions you need to address in your study plan. So the first question is, why do you wish to study in Canada in the program for which you have been accepted? I mean, you can take it in any number of ways, but one of the very important thing about creating a study plan is to do a lot of research, right? First question is that why study in Canada, right? So Canada reason could be many. It could be that it has a very well established and really good education system. It's a multicultural society. It's very safe, will offer a lot of diverse perspective. But then they also have to maybe address the things such as that why Canada, why not other English speaking countries for that matter? For example, you might have an opportunity to study in Australia, United Kingdom, or New Zealand or USA. So you need to address that as well, right? That why is it that you wish to study in Canada versus maybe other options which are available? The second question is that what is your overall educational goal? So when we talk about the educational goal, that what do you want to do after doing this specific program, how it's going to help you, right? Is your education goal is to do further studies? For example, is it academic goal? For example, you think that after doing a master's in this program, and I will be able to get into, let's say, PhD, that could be academic goal. Or it could be career enhancement goal. For example, that you think that, right now I'm working, or wherever I'm working, I'm not able to get the promotion, and this specific program is really going to help me with career advancement. Or it could be that you are just a person who has done, let's say, grade 12, and after doing this program, this will open up like entry-level opportunities with multinational corporations in your home country, right? The main important thing is any kind of goal has to link back to your home country, right? So the next question is, why are you not pursuing a similar program in your country of residence or citizenship? This is also a very important question, because visa officer is a human being. He's basically saying like, why would you spend like $50,000-$60,000 maybe for a 2-year diploma program, right? Including tuition and living expenses. You might have a similar program in your home country, let's say India, right? Why are you investing so much time, energy, effort, and your parents' money and your savings and all of that, right? So you need to do a lot of research as to why you want to do that, right? And you have to convince the visa officer that your intentions are genuine, and why this program makes a lot of sense in this specific in Canada versus in your home country, India. And there could be many factors, right? Maybe this program in India is, let's say, take an example, is 4 years, whereas in Canada it is offered in 2 years. It gives you an international perspective, or the program is so unique that it's not being even offered in India. So that could be another reason, right? So these are the things which have to be incorporated in your study plan. So the next question is, what research have you done into studies in your country of residence or of citizenship? So they want to see that you have done some research, right? And I think research is a very important topic, and any which ways you should do your research, right? You need to find out which are the typical colleges in India or universities in India which are offering a similar program, why those are not making sense to you. Have you reached out to any international department in Canada and found out why the specific program makes a lot of sense, right? What research have you done? I mean, any kind of documentary evidence you've reached out to alumni might make your case even more stronger. So the next question is, how will this program enhance your employment opportunities in your country of residence or citizenship, right? So it has to make sense, right? At the end of the day, it has to do something in your home country. Why? It's always, everything connects back to the home country or your country of residence. For example, if you are a citizen of India and you're living in Dubai, then your Dubai is your country of residence, right? So now you have to think about how this program will enhance your career. Maybe you will get gainfully employed, you will improve your skill set, you will get international perspective, there is a co-op in the program, this gives you some experience as well, right? And or it could be academic, right? For example, you did this program and then you definitely know that now I have a higher chance of doing research work in India after doing this thesis-based program from Canada. So all of these things will play a role, that how your program will enhance your employability in your home country, not in Canada, right? And then the other question is, what ties do you have to your country of residence or citizenship? It is a very, very important question, right? You need to show your ties, right? For example, if you are single, maybe then you have to show that you have parents who are ailing parents, you have friends, connections, and to that country. If you're married, maybe your spouse and children are in your home country, and that might be a reason why you know that you will go back. You might have a letter from your employer or future employer or a current employer which says that after completing your studies in Canada, you would be given a promotion or something like that, right? Then you have a very comprehensive kind of plan or possessions, you have investments, you have land, you have so many other things in, let's say, in India, which shows that you have a very good reasons that why you would come back to India. So the next thing is related to provide details of your education history. You need to talk about your education history, what education you had, what programs you have done, what courses you have completed. So those kind of things. You need to also talk about your IELTS score. I mean, basically put your best foot forward. And for example, let's say if you have lesser marks in grade 12, but your core subjects you have really good marks, maybe above 80 or 90, you want to highlight that in such a way, right? Or you have done some volunteer work, you have had some part-time employment, you had some projects you have worked on, whether you are a graduate, undergrad. So any of that kind of thing might be helpful in your study application, right? So highlight all of those things. And if the person has some work experience, then you need to talk about what kind of work experience. You may not have to talk about all the work experience, but you definitely need to talk about what specific gaps were in your work experience, and basically highlight all of that as well, and how that work experience is relevant to your current study, and very, very important for that, right? So let's talk about the next thing, which is explain that you understand your responsibility as a student. I mean, this could be in the conclusion where, or declaration, in the sense that you're basically mentioning that you are a bona fide student, you would comply with the conditions of your study permit, which are typically basically that you will not do any kind of illegal, unauthorized work, or you would be a full-time student actively pursuing your studies. And the last but not the least, we have if there is a working professional, which I basically kind of highlighted, right? So you have to also show, in case of working professionals, maybe you have like 10 years, 20 years of experience, you are in your mid 30s, 40s, right? Very, very important that you need to basically identify clearly what are your gaps in your skill level or competencies, which will really enhance your career back home when you complete your studies. So everything has to tie back to your purpose, right? And how this study or education pursuit would be really helpful for you in the future. So let's talk about the structure of your study plan. So this is my structure, right? Obviously, this is how I would approach it, but it depends upon also the work experience and specific situation of the student, that obviously certain things you want to highlight and certain things you can remove depending, and you can always modify this. And let's talk about the first point, which is introduction, right? So I mean, in the introduction, maybe I should start with what you should not mention, right? Because I have kind of seen that some people just mention that, this is my age, this is my home address, I have 3 siblings, I have my uncle, aunt live in Canada, I have 2 uncle who live in US. And I mean, don't mention redundant information, right? Visa officer doesn't have time and kind of patience to, read this kind of things, right? So it's important that you come straight to the point, right? If you have something important to mention there. So you talk about maybe your name and your intended program and your overall goal and why you're pursuing this, just get right to the point, right? So make sure that your introduction should talk about this and how the reason of your doing this program is, career enhancement, and there are a lot of opportunities available which you want to, benefit from. So you have to mention that specific thing, right? And the education goal, as I mentioned, could be anything. It could be, having gainfully employed, or, you want to start some kind of business and, career advancement and any of those kind of things, or academic, maybe, pursuing future research, etc. Right? And last but not the least, I would also mention that, some people just say, oh, I want to come back to my home country and start a business, and barely they have done like grade 12 and then they have like doing 2 years of diploma. It obviously has to make sense, right? So just don't make a pie in the sky that way. Then the next point is education background. I think we have already discussed previously that you need to mention about all your education and put your best foot forward in terms of anything you can highlight, your experience, your projects, your core subjects, and the marks, your IELTS score, your volunteer, any of those kind of things might be useful in that. The next thing is that why I chose this program and school. I mean, this is very, very important. I think a lot of research has to be done that why you chose this program and this school, right? It maybe the program is pretty unique. It's not available in your home country. And this specific program, I mean, the research can be done from any number of places, right? You can reach out to the current students, the alumni, maybe you can find it from LinkedIn. You can go to the college website, right, where you will have the information. What are the specific courses, what is the pedagogy, how this program is being taught, what are the softwares and skills the outcomes you will get, right? All of those things you can put in, and you can highlight that why you chose this program and this school, and maybe it has a co-op. So those kind of things would be, something you can add in why I chose this program and this specific school. And if the school has some schools which are, when I'm saying schools, I mean colleges, these will have like, centers of excellence. Some, like, for example, certain college might have center of excellence, let's say in hospitality. Some might have, programs in culinary and other things. I mean, it depends upon the college. Some might have in data science, are renowned for that, and the teachers and the faculty is very, very good. It all boils down to those things. And then the next is reason for choosing Canada. As I mentioned previously, you have to talk about not only why you chose Canada vis-a-vis, for example, other English-speaking countries. For example, let's say if you are from an English-speaking, English is your language, which and maybe you have to show that why you did not choose US or New Zealand. Maybe the fees was high, or because of the certain environment or certain things you chose specifically India, and why not Canada, and why not India as well, right? So, and you have to do your research and show that these are the colleges you basically looked at in India, and this was the missing element in that, or it was kind of a road form of learning. The practical experience and exposure and perspective one would get from doing this program in this specific college in Canada makes a lot of difference, and something which is kind of an unsaid rule in India, that the potential employers kind of value this kind of education and knowledge. Then you talk about the future plans, how your education and career goals will be achieved. I mean, this is critical, right? Everything you have to tie back to your home country, right? At the end of the day. So what are your future plans? Whether you will be gainfully employed, whether you will pursue this and will start a business, whether you will get into research, that might be an academic goal. So you have to tie back that why education in Canada and your future plans are aligned, and this will give you a boost up, right? And so something like that has to be kind of mentioned very clearly. You need to really think hard about these things, right? Then the next part is financial support. So you need to talk about that you have the financial capability to pursue this education, right? So and financial support, whether it's from your parents, right, or you have your own savings. How are you going to support? Let's say you have a 2-year program. How are you going to support your kind of living expenses, tuition for 2 years, your transportation cost to back to your country back? I mean, you have to do that. And as a visa officer, they are human beings, right? They also want to see, what this person has only $20,000 of, let's say, savings in his life, right? And he's pursuing a program which is, the overall cost for 2-year study is $50,000. Like, how does it make sense, right? Like, where is the cost benefit analysis? You want to kind of mention that, after doing this program, so you're expected maybe to make X amount of money, and this is how the payback period is not that much, and the compounding effect of getting a great education and has a very long-term positive effect on my career trajectory and those kind of things, right? So you need to kind of think about the doubts that might come in visa officers, and you have to basically take care of that. Then it's travel history. I don't think so it needs to be mentioned if you don't have a travel history, but it can be mentioned. For example, let's say if you've been to certain countries and then you have come back to your home country, and it basically kind of shows that you kind of are a law-abiding a citizen, right? And that is a good thing. And if you haven't had any travel history, that's also maybe the reason could be that you were saving money, because for you education is more important than anything else, and you did not want to spend money in international travel, but you wanted to stay in India, and this is something which you had a goal, and that's why you don't have any travel history for that matter. And then ties to your home country, I think kind of we have already discussed that as well. So ties to your home country could be that you have a future promotion or a offer which is lined up. You have possessions in your country. You may have business investments, and you have a friend and a network of friends. Those kind of things. You might have both your parents living in India. You want to provide them emotional and moral support, or they are ailing. Like, there could be so many reasons, and you have to show ties to your home country. And last but not the least, you will have conclusion. Do not put heading conclusion, maybe just say in conclusion. And you basically talk about that, you put up a case that, you have met all the requirements and you are a fit candidate for a study permit approval, and you understand your responsibilities as a student. So that's, I would say, would be a typical kind of a structure or template for the study plan you want to create. So now let's talk about the length of the SOP or study plan, right? The content should kind of justify the length. It could be 1 page or maybe 4 pages. But the important thing is that there should not be redundant information. It should be concise. It should be coherent, right? I've seen some SOPs where kind of student has just copy pasted a lot of content from the college website. For example, all the courses they have mentioned and all the learning outcomes they have mentioned. Just understand, visa officer does not have all the time, right, to go through, a lot of redundant information. So it's important that you need to reread it and just make sure that it is relevant. And also important is that you put all the critical information in the SOP, right, or study plan. Why is that important? Is even if there is a refusal, because now there are refusals for all kind of different reasons. People say, there is, for example, they talk about Chinook system, they talk about artificial intelligence, and you might have got the reason and for refusal, and you might have to take it to judicial review, right? But if your study plan is very comprehensive and it addressed a lot of things which might have been mentioned in the refusal reason, I mean, then you might have a chance for reconsideration, right? Or a redetermination by another officer. So this is your chance. So make sure your study plan is comprehensive, cover all the elements, but should not have redundant information. So now let's talk about key takeaways. So the first thing I would talk about is that from reading your study plan, is the visa officer thinking that you are a student or are you an immigrant? If he thinks that you are more of an immigrant, right, and you are not a bona fide student, he will reject. He will find reasons, right? It's based on the perception. first people perceive and then they give rational reasons behind it, right? So if the visa officer perceives that, this person seems to be a bona fide student, then what they do is they will find out from your application some incoherence and they will basically refuse you, right? So the second point I will make is make it foolproof, right? What I mean by that is that if you have mentioned in your application, talked about a lot of research and other things, I mean, it has to be backed by some kind of evidence. When you talk certain, parts very emphatically, so just make sure that it's backed by evidence as well. So just present that evidence and attach to your study plan. So the third thing is make it coherent. Coherent means that all the different parts or paragraphs or elements of your study plan should come together and there should be some flow, some structure to it, right? In a way that all the dots are getting connected and you are presenting a very coherent, complete picture of why you are a good student, right? So don't miss the forest for the trees. All the component elements of your study plan has to come together, and just take care of these key takeaways and you should be able to create a really good, effective study plan. So friends, I would be creating future videos as well on how to choose the right DLI or program, what could be the reasons for study permit refusal and how to address that. So, and I put my contact details in the description. You can always connect with me. If you found the information useful, please do like and subscribe our channel and hit the bell icon. And thank you so much for watching and have a great day. Bye.